Greetings everyone, welcome to this video lecture of ethics. Dear students, in the previous lecture we have discussed about what is ethics. In today's session we are going to discuss about three important words that is related with ethics. First, human character, second, human conduct, and lastly, human behavior. So let's dive in. See, before knowing about human character, conduct and behavior, you must know about action and habit. So see, what is action? See, when we talk about action, it simply means any kind of voluntary or deliberate deed performed by an individual with intention and awareness, right? So here you must note that any kind of voluntary or deliberate did performed by an individual with intention or awareness. Intention or awareness. Right? Simple. Now, why actions are important? See, actions are considered as the starting point of moral evaluation. Right? If you have to evaluate anything, right, you must note the actions, right? And for example, right actions, wrong actions, good actions, bad actions, right? For example, helping others in distress, it is considered as good action, right? Refusing bribe, again considered as good action. But again, vice versa, accepting bribe or demanding bribe, right, considered as wrong action, right? Now you must know about that action can be categorized in two categories, right? First, human action, human action, and second, action of human, right? See, both look similar, but there is slight difference. What is the difference? The difference is when we talk about human action, these are voluntary, right? And when anything is voluntary, it can be controlled, right? For example, your good action, bad action, right? Or your anger, just an example, your anger, your emotion can be controlled, right? These are voluntary action, right? But actions of human, these are involuntary. Why involuntary? And when action is involuntary, you don't have any control, means no control, right? Example, you can write your sleep, hunger, right, breathing, heartbeat, flowing of blood in the veins, right? These are involuntary action, we cannot control them, right? For example, we cannot control our sleep, we cannot control our hunger, our thirst, right? Simply we can delay them, right, just for few hours or as per the person's capacity, but we cannot control them. But we can control our action, good action, bad action, right? Our anger, our emotion, right? So this was all about action. Now, habits, right? So what is habit? See, the initial stage of habit is action, right? When any action is repeated, right, consistently, then it becomes our habit, right? And what is habit? If you have to define what is habit, then you must remember that it is expression of settled disposition of mind or character. So what is it? Settled disposition of mind or character, right? Something that is settled in your mind, then it becomes your habit, right? And it is what, as I said, it is repeated pattern of action or repeated pattern of action, right? When you repeat your action consistently over the period of time, it will develop as your habit, right? And from ethics perspective, habits are very important. Why important? Because they are called training ground of your virtues, right? For example, if you speak truth daily, right, over the period of time it will become your habit, and when time or situation comes, you will not think about speaking truth. It will come out of your mouth automatically, right? For example, Aristotle, he says the or moral virtue is the result of your habit, right? So whether you are a virtuous person or not, it depends upon your habit. So develop good habits, right? Again, he also says that good habits lead to moral excellence, right? If you want to get a moral excellence, right, if you want to achieve moral excellence, develop good habits. This is all about habits, right? Now third, character, human character, right? See, so you can see that action helps in building habit, and habit builds character, right? So what is character? It is nothing but permanent habit of willing, right, and the inner bent of mind. So what is it? Permanent habit of willing and what? Inner bent of mind or biasness, you can say, right? So anything or any habit that becomes permanent, right, it becomes your character. It decides your character, right? So if, or we can say that character is what we are at our moral core, right? When we talk about a person, that the person has good character or bad character, actually we talk about that person's moral core, right? And how it is developed? It is developed through habits. So always try to develop good habits, right? Apart from that, for example, from ethical perspective, character is the central focus of ethics. Like, why it is central focus of ethics? Because it tells not only what we do, but also what kind of person we are, right? So a person is of good character or bad character, we can easily see, right? Now one more thing I would like to tell you, that one action or one habit does not determine the character of a person, right? You must remember that it develops over the period of time, right? If you want to check a person's character, right, notice his consistency in behavior, whether he is lying consistently or speaking truth consistently, whether he or she is honest to you consistently or occasionally, right, or only one times come, right? Next, conduct. See, conduct, what is conduct? When we talk about conduct, conduct it simply means purposive action, right, that includes choice and will. Purposive action includes choice and will, right? So if it is your choice, it is your will, it is your purpose, then it becomes, or it is called your conduct. And character is reflected in conduct. So you can see there is a chain, right? Action develops or helps in developing habit, habit builds character, and character is reflected in conduct, right? So what is conduct? It is, as I said, expression of character. And for example, an honest officer, right, who is or who will remain transparent in his decision making or performance of duty. Why? Because of good character, and it is reflected in his or her conduct, right? Now it bridges, means conduct bridges the gap between your thought and action, right? So thought and action means, for example, if you are honest, if you are honest, it means what? There is very less gap or almost no gap between your thought, word and action, and it must be reflected in your conduct, right? And again, it can be categorized into two categories: good conduct, bad conduct, right? So, and in the previous lecture I have already discussed what is difference between right and wrong, good or bad, right? Now lastly, human behavior. Right? So simply, you must know about that. Human behavior is nothing but our response or our general response to a particular situation. Particular situation, for example, emotional, social, right, or psychological. How do we respond, right, in particular situation, emotionally, psychologically, socially? So it is reflected in our behavior. That is human behavior, right? And what is it? It is what we see in others and others see in us. Right. So again, it is can be categorized into what? Good behavior, bad behavior, and you must know that sometimes behavior may be neutral. Neutral means you are not acting whether in wrong manner or right manner. That is called your neutral behavior. Right. You are not harming anyone or helping anyone. That is called your neutral behavior. Right. So this was all about action, habit, character, conduct, and human behavior. We will meet in another interesting video. Thank you.